Welcome to another 21 Hats Dashboard. I'm Lauren Feldman, and I'm here with Gene Marks. Happy Monday, Gene.
Hello, Lauren. How are you?
I'm doing great. You?
Good so far. We're not going to talk about the Phillies, so we're just going to talk business, okay?
I think everybody knows we're Philly fans.
I think people might have figured it out.
Let's talk about something more serious. I'd like to talk to you about the hurricanes we've been experiencing the last few weeks. First Helene, and then last week Milton. You wrote a piece for The Hill in which you kind of sought to reassure the business owners of Asheville. You wrote, Asheville's small businesses will ultimately recover and they will be better than ever. I hope you're right about that, but I'm curious, why are you so sure that those businesses will recover and be better than ever?
I mean, first of all, I do want to say this. I had a lot of reservations about writing this piece, and I'll tell you the reason why.
Why?
I mean, who the hell am I sitting in Philadelphia on a 70-degree fall day? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Writing to the Asheville small business owners, you'll recover, you'll be fine. You know what I mean? I have there's a level of naiveness and ignorance for me to actually be writing something like this because I'm not there. I'm not experiencing doing it. And honestly, I was on LinkedIn and, I've seen posts from some Asheville business owners that, they're having a hard time getting money back from their insurance, or they were underinsured, or they're others that just, regardless of whatever they get back, it's not going to be enough, and they're going to wind up going out of business. And it is their livelihoods. I don't know. At first I was I'm so blithely sitting far away, saying "Come on, guys, you can recover," And I feel like it's just I don't. It's not like I'm there, feet on the ground. And by the way, I've been to Asheville. My favorite hotel in the country is in Asheville, the Grove Park Inn. There's all sorts of conferences that go on there. I love Asheville.
I've heard great things about it. I have a couple of friends who live there. I've been dying to go for a long time.
Oh, it's so nice, Lauren. Yeah, you go to the Grove Park, it's really great. And you have a cocktail on the porch there, overlook the mountains and all that. It's like this old, restored, beautiful resort. It's just a really great, it's a really great place. And then the town itself is beautiful, and North Carolina is. But
I think you make a good point there. The things that have made it great in the past, I suspect, will make the community great again in the future. But I do worry about the specific individual businesses that have been hit by this.
Yeah, there's no question. There's going to be plenty of businesses that don't recover and don't come back. And in the end, I decided to write it. And I discussed it with my editor because I do believe that Asheville will come back. And I cited examples of other towns and areas that were hard hit by hurricanes and natural
Charleston,
disasters.
South Carolina, you mentioned.
Yeah. And they look at Charleston. I mean, it's amazing right now. It's booming. It took time. And sometimes time is not on the side for a lot of businesses. And, but these will come back. And Asheville is one of those places. And for anybody who's visited there, you just know they're going to rebuild and they're going to come back. And if you can stick it out, for those businesses that are resilient enough, they will, they'll get their return on investment and things will turn around, but it's going to take a while. And anyway, I don't know. I just want to say, I really feel for those people. It's brutal. It really is brutal.
Let's talk about a few of those challenges. One of the things that happened in Nashville that surprised everybody is that, nobody thought there would be essentially storm surge, flooding in the mountains like that. And of course, few of those people who live there, the businesses there, had flood insurance for obvious reasons, which was one of the reasons I worry about the businesses there. I mean, they're going to have a hard time with their insurance claims, I suspect. Am I right?
They are. I mean, a lot of them were underinsured or didn't have the proper amount of insurance. So, if there's any businesses that have been in a disaster area, or even people that might be listening now that might be affected by the most recent hurricanes, I mean, yes, insurance is obviously very important. FEMA, you go directly to their website, does have the funding and grants and help for businesses. And don't discount the SBA, the Small Business Administration. I mean, remember that the SBA primarily guarantees loans to small businesses. However, it is mandated to provide disaster loans directly, both to small businesses and individuals. And these are very low interest, long-term loans that are there for that purpose to try and help you recover from something. So, if you are running a business in a disaster area, if your insurance falls short, the SB, whatever funds you get or don't get from FEMA, you should absolutely be going to the Small Business Administration and applying it as money that is available for you. Again, both for your business and individually. It's a very important resource.
Although one thing I wanted to ask you about that is a lot of business owners, I think you might be one of them, are reluctant to take on debt even in good times.
Yeah.
So taking on debt in a really tough time can be a real burden.
It can be, but it's all about return on investment. So, anybody that takes on debt that's smart about doing it, they're doing it for a reason, and they can gauge again the ROI of doing something like that. These loans again are very low interest rates. I forget the interest rates they're charging,
Which helps.
and they have a it's much extended payments as well. So if you take out a loan for $1 million or a few $100,000 or whatever it is, and you're careful about what your monthly debt maintenance is going to be under that loan, it could very well be something that you can afford, and will help you get back on your feet. SBA loans as well, you can defer paying back the loans for a while until you get back on your feet, and also you can prepay. You can pay down the loans without penalty. So those are all and again, because you're in a disaster thing, there's less. There's many times the collateral is not required. So all of that is something to consider as well.
You mentioned the ROI. Can you generalize? Is there a smart way to spend that borrowed money? I mean, obviously, you want to invest it in a way that's going to build the business back, as opposed to spending it on, ephemeral things that aren't going to have that ROI.
Yeah, I mean, like just in a simple example, I mean, it's going to hit your operating costs. So, say you borrow $1,000 from the Small Business Administration, and you use that $1,000 to repair your property and get up in business, and then you defer payment of that, whatever you can, 6 months or a year, and then you start paying it back, and you know that your monthly payment is going to be $100 to pay it back, or $50, whatever. You just want to project out that once you do get back on your feet, and you have to be thinking that way. How will that monthly payment figure into your overall operating cost? And if your operating costs can cover it and still return a profit to you, then you're committed to your business, and that's something that would make sense to do. So there are just countless small businesses have done it.
And if it doesn't pencil out, is it maybe time to think about not reopening?
100%. Yeah. I mean, you have to think about the fact that you're maybe your business, I don't know, maybe Mother Nature did you a favor. If you're unable to afford to pay back the loan over a longer period of time, particularly at those sort of, generous loan terms, maybe the business itself wasn't so profitable to begin with. Maybe that's a cause for you to make other decisions.
Back to insurance for a moment. You consult with a lot of clients. Do you have a sense of what percentage of them have business interruption insurance?
So most do, because they're usually included in package policies. But I think that the lesson that we learned from here, you said at the very beginning of this interview, was that business owners in Asheville, for example, were not expecting to get flooded and didn't have flood insurance. And maybe that's a consideration in these times of climate change and these times of other factors. Maybe that's a thing that you have to talk to your insurance agent. Flood insurance, if you're in a risky area like Asheville was probably pretty inexpensive to get. And looking back,
maybe not anymore.
Yeah, but looking back on it with 2020 hindsight, if you say to your insurance broker, and I'm going to have these conversations with my insurance, but although we didn't have property because we're all virtual, so I'm not quite sure what impact that would have on me. But I will be advising my clients that when they come up for renewal, have that list of potential all natural disasters. I don't care if it's earthquakes, floods, whatever acts of God. I think we've learned from Asheville that they can happen anywhere. You never know. I mean, even in Philly, New Jersey, we get earthquakes once in a while, very small ones, but we get them, and who knows, so why not have that insurance? Do
you think everybody should have business interruption insurance?
Yeah. Everybody has to. And when I say has to, I mean, I think it's absolutely critical to have business interruption insurance. And that goes even beyond just the risk of natural disasters. I mean, because of the threat of even cyber, breaches and all that are so much more than they ever were.
Right.
That can shut down your business for weeks at a time. Every business, if you're going to look and renegotiate your insurance or when you come up for renewal, you better make sure that you've got business interruption insurance.
Are there any other lessons to be learned from this?
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to also mention is the whole disaster recovery and continuity plan and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I know we always hear this from all the experts, about you need to have a disaster recovery plan and blah, blah, blah. You always think like maybe this just, applies to people in disaster areas. Again, the business owners in Asheville, they've learned that lesson the hard way. And if we can walk away with nothing from this, maybe there's lessons that, we can, we can learn from this. We all should have disaster recovery and continuity plans.
Are they the same thing or are those two different things?
Same things. It's really the same thing.
Because I think of continuity as, what happens if the owner gets hit by that proverbial bus, and disaster prep is, what we're talking about here.
They tend to overlap and they tend to be in a similar document. And, what my advice is for this, which I've been giving to clients, is go to ChatGPT. Start there. Tell them the existence of your business and say that you want to have for any potential disaster, as well as what your as well as anything that happens to your owners. You can give it some specifics, and then as it starts generating parts of it, you can start thinking about things that are very, very much detailed for your own business. It will create a good plan for you that you can then circulate. I mean, you're not going to take it at face value. You then circulate it among, your business advisors, your attorney, your accountant, your senior managers, and, you tighten it up. But it's something you really do want to have in place so that you can pull out that, that playbook as to what you do. I'm curious, and it'd be a good piece to write, not now, obviously, but the people in Florida. Asheville is one thing where it took everybody by complete surprise. But, if you're running a business in, the Gulf Coast or on the East Coast of Florida, are you, I'm assuming, I can't imagine not running a business and not having a disaster recovery plan. I mean, that, state gets hit with hurricanes every year. And I'd be curious to know, how many businesses there actually do. And I'd love to see some examples of what they look like. It's a good article, actually, Lauren,
I know you like to go to Florida. You should.
Might be something to think about.
Maybe not right now, but you should go down there and do that.
I wouldn't write this right now. Can you imagine calling up a business owner and saying, hi, I realize you were just decimated by a hurricane. Tell me about your disaster recovery. But it would be an interesting conversation to have.
But you know how you ask it? You could have that conversation. And, if you say to them, listen, I'm really sorry you went through this, but I'm hoping we can all learn from this. Can you tell me, what would you have done in advance if you had it to do over?
Yeah, what I would be doing is if I was an insurance company, I would be like, listen, I do a lot of work with the Hartford. I'm thinking of talking to them and saying, you guys should have pay for a detailed survey of business owners in Florida, and find out how many of them have that plan. And then, we should then do some content around that saying okay, well, if you have a plan, what's in it? What can the rest of the country learn? I'm assuming if you're running a business in Florida and you do have a disaster recovery plan, I'm assuming there's probably some good ones. You know what I mean? These people had some time to think.
Right.
And it might be some good material for other businesses around the country.
Well, kind of on that point, what do you think about the frequency and the severity of these storms that we're seeing? I don't think I've ever seen you write about climate concerns. Do you think we, businesses included, need to be paying more attention to that and thinking seriously about what, if anything, can be done to try to stop this from continuing to get worse? Yeah,
I mean, there's no question that the planet is warming. Will it be at a crisis level? I'm not an environmental scientist, so I just don't know. And Lauren, come on, you and I are old enough to remember back in the 70s and the 80s, there's always been a lot of scientists, about overpopulation of the world and food running out and pollution and the ozone layer and all of that. I'm not saying those aren't justified claims, but there's no question that it's happening. I just don't know the severity of it. And I do have full confidence in the humans to adapt to their surroundings, So, but I think that if you're running a business and you are prone, you're on coast land, for example, or you are in an area that's known for, bad weather, tornadoes, things like that in the Midwest or whatever. I mean, yeah, there's clearly, we're seeing over the past few years at least that there's been an uptick in it. It's funny. Whether you believe in it or not, whether you believe that there's significant climate change happening and it's serious, or maybe you're like, listen, the planet's been around for 4 billion years. So, we don't know if this is just a blip or not. You're still a business owner and you have a responsibility for your employees and your community. So you do need to be prepared for these kinds of things. It's a fiduciary thing. So you can't ignore it. You can't. I bet you, business owners in Florida are not ignoring that as much as they might have been a few years ago.
Well, there's some politicians there who might or might not be ignoring it today as well.
Yeah, the politics of all of that is, that's up in the air. People have to, whatever. Different politicians are good. I were you reading like last week or whatever. It was always like about conspiracy theories about manufacturing the hurricane or whatever. It's like great. I
think a certain congresswoman from Georgia started that conversation.
Yeah. It's really hilarious stuff. But listen,
sort of hilarious.
Yeah, the media will do what it is. The bottom line is that you, when you talk to business people that are running companies, people are pretty sane, and they understand that these are all risks and these are things, and and they have to take precautions and just make sure we have people that we're responsible for, Lauren. You know what I mean? So we have to be thinking about this stuff.
Anything you're working on that we should watch for this week?
So yeah, I just wrote a piece I published last Friday. Maybe we can talk about back to CRM and technology. I've been doing, Lauren. I've been spending a lot of time in Reddit every day on different CRM subreddits, which I've really been enjoying. And I keep seeing the same question about people looking for free CRMs, customer relationship management applications for their businesses. And so I wrote a whole like a 1,200 word thing in.
Who creates free CRMs?
Oh, there's tons of free
really?
CRM out. Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, the very fact that you're asking that question leads me to want to maybe discuss this further, maybe, next week after you've read the article.
Definitely. Would you recommend that a business use a free CRM? That seems a little sketchy.
Oh, well, you would be surprised at how many businesses use free CRMs because,
Is this open source? Is that the idea?
No. It's free. And so again, I advise strongly against it. And I list out a bunch of reasons why. I don't think that's going to stop people, but at least I wanted to get my thoughts down in writing. So just maybe that's a good conversation we can have next week.
That sounds great. Gene Marks is a CPA who writes weekly on small business for The Guardian, The Hill, The Philadelphia Inquirer, The Washington Times, The Chicago Daily Herald, Forbes, and Entrepreneur. You can also hear him on ABC Radio's Eye on the World with John Batchelor. Gene hosts 2 small business podcasts with Paychex Corporation and The Hartford. Thank you, Gene.
Thank you, Lauren. We'll see you next week.
Have a great week, everybody.